Hello everyone, welcome to Functional Nurse Academy Graduate Feature. For more information about Functional Nurse Academy, be sure to go to functionalnurseacademy.com. And here's your host, Nurse Melissa.
Welcome to the Functional Nurse Academy Graduate Feature. During this show, I love to spotlight the incredible journey of nurses who have transformed the way that they practice and also their mindset through the lens of functional medicine. My name is Melissa Schreidfatter, and I am the founder of the Functional Nurse Academy and Christian Functional Medicine Academy. In today's episode, I'm going to be sitting down with one of our amazing graduates and hear how she is using functional medicine and using her own independent business to change lives and redefine what it means to be a nurse in today's world. We're going to be talking about anything and everything holistic and how can you help your family? How can you make realistic, healthy swaps within your household? And we're also going to talk about, just from the nursing perspective, nurses that get trained in the conventional medical model that decide to go the holistic route. So joining me today, I have Lindsay Lepp with me. Now, Lindsay is the founder of Arukah Health Guild, and she was raised on a farm, and she actually learned these things early, that the body is designed to function in harmony with nature. And she believes that true healing takes time, attention, and care. She does have over 15 years of nursing experience and a lifelong passion for wellness. So she became increasingly aware of how the conventional healthcare system often falls short for those with chronic health conditions. And she recognized a growing need for someone who can truly listen, connect the dots, and offer lasting hope. So at Arukah Health Guild, Lindsay combines her nursing experience, fitness coaching background, and advanced functional testing to develop personalized wellness plans that restore both health and hope, whether clients are navigating persisting symptoms or pursuing peak performance. She walks alongside them every step of the way. Welcome, Lindsay. It's so great to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's always so great to connect with you guys because, with Functional Nurse Academy, it's, the way that it's structured, it's self-paced. And then I have the live mentorship program. So, when people, a lot of times when the nurses finish the program, I haven't had a chance to meet and talk with them face to face. So it's so great to finally meet you. And so I know that, we had talked about one of the most important things when we as nurses are helping our clients live healthier lives is cleaning up the environment. And I'm very curious about your background, especially growing up on a farm. So you already were kind of in the holistic space and then going into nursing and then seeing that healthcare isn't, there's a lot in healthcare that's not really about health. So I would love to hear a little bit about your background and your journey through nursing.
Sure. I would say that my upbringing was unintentionally crunchy. I wouldn't say that it was on purpose to be natural. We just I grew up on a farm and lived out in the country. So fast food and stuff just wasn't available to us. So my mom did a lot of the cooking the majority of the time. We had a huge garden. I learned how to garden, how to cook, and my dad hunted on our land and stuff. So my mom could not cook when she got married. And so she was determined to all us girls would be able to cook when we left the house. So that's one skill that I'm very thankful for that I have, because that's lended itself very effectively to creating a more holistic and natural household of my own now. I would say my first exposure to crunchy was after nursing school, even, I'm like really didn't get a whole lot of, I don't know, exposure to it. It was my friend Sarah, who is like from the gym, and she was all about leaky gut before leaky gut was like cool and nobody had any idea what it was. Um, she was like raw milk, didn't vaccinate her kids, like all the things, and we all thought she was like a little bit crazy. And then once it started like clicking in my brain, she's the one I went back to all the time. That was like, hey, how do I do this, or what do I do about that? But like nursing wise, going like conventional to more holistic, I would say it was probably during COVID that I really started like waking up to all the things. I was a military wife and mom at that time, and just all the things that were going on with everything that was 2020, right? And I had thing that probably woke me up the most. I had just had twins, and we were living on base. And I went to like one of the doctors, and I was like, "Hey, I think I would love to get my like hormones checked," just because I had been reading some stuff. And after that appointment, I came home with like a prescription for SSRIs, and I was like, really? And like my husband and I both like obviously knew enough to like not take those and do our own research and stuff, but that was probably like that was the switch, I think, for me. And then I started doing my own research into everything, and then kind of FNA kind of fell into my lap. And then I pretty much went into it with the idea of like I want to do what I can for like my health and my family, and I wasn't necessarily looking to start a business, but here we are.
Yes, yes. And it really is, it's kind of a blessing in disguise when we get exposed to these things happening in healthcare that are not the most ethical. But I mean, how silly is that? That like, okay, something's off in my body, should we see what's going on, doctor? And the doctor's like, no, no, here, take these SSRIs and have all of these side effects. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And this whole paradigm of listen to the experts. No, don't do your research. And then with and again, the silver lining of COVID, oh my goodness. Like I really don't understand how people can get through 2020 and the mandates that came rolling down in 2021 and still just like not have questions. But yeah. And I kind of went through something similar. I got really sick with my first son, and then I could not believe how bad the conventional care was. And at that moment in time, I wasn't planning to become like a nurse entrepreneur and start my own business, but it kind of like falls into your lap once you see what's going on. And then knowing that you have that nursing experience and you have that clinical background and the critical thinking and common sense and all these things to, really be able to use your skills and, transform how you practice into like a just healthier way for not only the clients that you serve, but for your family. And I did want to ask, so I know we were talking about, we're brainstorming ideas for this show because, with this show, we have a lot of nurses, a lot of other healthcare professionals, and then we have a lot of other people that listen that may not be in healthcare, but are extremely interested in health and wellness. And you said that one of your passions is talking about basically healthy swaps for a crunchier home. And I love this topic because when you start kind of waking up to what's sprayed on food, what's put in the water supply, the air quality in your home, all these things, it can get like really, really scary. So say that you're working with someone and they've just been doing everything conventional. They have not stepped into that crunchy space yet. Like, what are some simple swaps that they can get started with?
Well, I kind of go back to what what I started with and the first things that I was like concerned about. And it was like the things we're exposed to the most in every day. So I was like, okay, what is that? It's probably like the air we breathe and the water we drink. So I start with like an air filter for your home, and filtering your water to get all the junk out of our conventional water, unfortunately. Because I don't think people are aware. Like the advice that I got with my first baby was, oh, just use the tap water. And I'm, yeah, for my first one, I don't think that we did do any filtering. But then for the twins, that was one of the first things that we started doing was filtering the water. And yeah, like unfortunately, people just don't know that like the city's way of cleaning up the water is just moving what's legally allowed. They don't actually clean it up. They just change the limits a lot of the time. So yeah, I really like the clearly filtered. The water pitchers are one of the, I think, the most economical entries into that, because most people can't really afford to do like a reverse osmosis or a whole home system, but yet you want to make that change and that swap. The next thing that I like to do is like toothpaste to get your fluoride out, deodorant to get the aluminum out, and laundry detergent. Laundry detergent was another one that I made because my babies were reacting to what I was using. So then they had to find something new. But yeah, I also find like once you start going down that rabbit hole, though, it's like it can be like, oh no, like this, and it's like so overwhelming, and you feel like, well, I'm just not going to do anything because I can't do everything. But I just like to remind people that there's so much grace to be found in this process as well. Like it's a journey, and like my home is still not there, and I'm like 5 years into trying to make all these switches now. Yeah, there's so much grace, and you just do what you can with what you have, and as it makes sense for your budget and your family. And if it doesn't make sense for your budget and your family, and you can't find something better, then you're doing the best that you can. And that's good too. Like, I don't like people to get overwhelmed, because like stress is toxic too, right? And then stress is the X factor on so many of the like chronic diseases and stuff that we see, and it just kind of, that's the one that pushes the button and makes it kind of manifest, you know. But yeah, and then after those kinds of switches, then as things start running out, like cleaning products, or like you need new bedding, or whatever, you find something that is just, I like the Instagram account A Little Less Toxic. Her thing is always like, as something runs out, just look for something that you can refill it with that's a little less toxic. Once it runs out, if you can't find something that's better, stick with what you have. And yeah, it's small steps, and hopefully not overwhelming.
Yes, and I really like that you're talking about the babies. Do what you can. Don't be hard on yourself, because again, stress can literally kill you, and that's
Oh,
not good for you either, to feel like everything in your home is trying to kill you guys. So, and usually what I like to, when I'm teaching nurses and practitioners, when you're working with a client and you're trying to help them make these changes, the number one reason why they are unable to follow through with functional medicine plans is because the practitioner is giving them too much to do too fast, or it's unreasonable. And we always want to take into consideration like what we are asking people to do. But I do really love that you like the things that you start with are the air quality, water, and then stress. And then I always like to throw in, like, here are some free things that you can do.
Yeah.
On a nice day, open up multiple windows in your home to, cross ventilate. And then also, when we talk about reducing stress, guys, just getting outside in nature is so incredibly like healing and relaxing to us. Putting the phone down, taking breaks from things, which I know, like when I say, oh, take breaks from things, that's kind of impossible when you have like young children. But with these phones, and I know that I am like hooked up to my electronics right now, but it is like not healthy for people to be able to reach us 24/7. I mean, sometimes with me, I will just, at the end of the business day, I'm like turning my phone off and I'm just giving it to my husband. So I'm not tempted to get on it. But yeah, like it can get really scary and overwhelming, when you start learning about these things, because it is a whole on rabbit hole and you don't want to be so like consumed with this that you're overwhelmed and then you're in like a chronic fight or flight situation.
Exactly.
So, when we talk about, I also wanted to ask you, because I'm trying to think of other questions our listeners probably have listening to this right now. When you mentioned, this is a big one, laundry detergent.
Mhm.
So have a lot of people have a hard time finding a good laundry detergent that actually gets rid of
Yeah.
stains and will not leave your clothes smelling like a wet dog.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific brand recommendations for that?
Um, I we use Truly Free right now, which I know is not like the most
Yeah.
of the like, but it's a step in the right direction. And I've also used some Norwex products. I have an aunt that does Norwex, and so I found both of those to do the job for us, and I haven't had any issues with it. And my husband works in the hospital, and he's bringing like his scrubs and stuff home. So and then I've got three boys who are like in the sand and dirt and mud. So I've found them to both work pretty well for us. I haven't tried Branch Basics yet, but I kind of want to give that one a go too.
I was going to mention Branch Basic. So I have, and guys, it comes with a little kit. So it's a little bit more like expensive at first, but then it makes a lot of products. And then also with cleaning your home. So when I was, before I started nursing school and I was doing my prerequisite coursework, I used to clean people's houses, guys. And I remember like I was already like, okay, I'm going to swap out my cleaning supplies for some, cleaner options, because I was like, this is not healthy just to be breathing in all these chemicals. And then when you are just dousing your house with chemicals, which we know that the US is just not the best at like actually regulating chemicals that people are using in their homes. But whatever you spray in the home, that affects the air quality in your home. And like, I mean, oh my goodness, vinegar and water. I mean, like that
Yeah, I
is,
use that a lot too.
it is so inexpensive. Like you don't have to have these like expensive cleaning products, And also the goodness, guys, the toothpaste. I just can't, and oh my goodness. And then going into the fluoride. I need to do a whole nother show on fluoride, but there actually is more awareness now coming forth about this, and HHS is actually talking about it, which is
Yes.
fantastic. But there are, for our listeners, there are legitimate studies showing that there's a dose-dependent relationship between fluoride exposure and the IQs of our children. More fluoride exposure resulting in lower IQs in some cases, and it can also negatively affect the bones. And there's all these other impacts it has on the body. We're not supposed to be drinking fluoride, and it was originally in dentistry when they started using it. They discovered that it did strengthen the enamel when used topically, but like just fluoridating the water supply is, I mean, and I've seen all of these, you know, influencers come out through social media who I'm pretty sure are funded. But anyway, they're like, oh, people are going to be getting cavities and it's going to be horrible. And I'm like, why don't we just like use some common sense and critical thinking? What are the countries doing that are healthier than we are? Are they fluorinating their water? No, they're not. And a lot of them are like shocked that America is fluorinating their water and using fluorinated products. So for toothpaste, I know one of the brands I've used that's pretty clean is Dr. Bronner's. Have you found a good one?
I use Zebra right now, and then just looking on I think it was the EWG standards stuff. There's an Attitude one there too that we've tried. But yeah, my husband is not on board with the toothpaste. He gets his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Zebra right now. And just trying to think if I've tried any other ones. No, and it's a milder mint that it's not so like spicy that my kiddos can use it too.
Okay, good. Yeah. And again, like what I always like to teach people is you cannot control what goes on outside of your home. You know, if you go to like friend's house, family member's house, some type of party or whatever. And I don't ever want people to be stressed out about like, is there an air filter in this home? Is this what's in the food? Like all of these things. So I always tell people, I'm like, God has designed our bodies to be resilient. So control what you can in the home and then do not isolate. Like go out with friends and family and just don't stress. Don't stress about it. Make the best choices that you can, but don't be stressed about things that you cannot control. And I do just love so much that you mentioned stress, because this is another thing. Like when I was bouncing around all of these functional practitioners when I was really sick, they were giving me these long lists of all these supplements I needed to buy from them. And then all of these other things I needed to purchase that just happened to be affiliate links to things that they also make money from. And I was so stressed from this. And again, guys, if you're seeing a practitioner like that, it may not be the best practitioner for you. So, but when we talk about stress, like what are your go-tos for that, for like helping people just to like regulate their nervous system?
Yeah, like that's the other, like people will often go to their doctor and their doctor's like, you need to reduce stress. And it's like, so what did they tell you to do? And like, well, they didn't tell me to do anything. Like they just said reduce stress. I think one of the best things you can do is just breathe. Most people don't even realize they've been holding their breath for a few years, and just like I think it was, what did I read? It's like 60 seconds. It's not crazy. It's 60 seconds to just help your brain and body like connect and be like, okay, everything's okay. You just deep breathe, like 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, 60 seconds long. Yeah, deep breathe. I also tell people like make an appointment to do something that's like fun for you. Like go like schedule in like a coffee date with a friend, like a conversation that you can like get lost in, or even if it's just like, okay, I'm taking 90 minutes and I'm watching a movie that I enjoy, that I can get like lost in, that just kind of takes you down a level. What are some other things that and just smiling, just like, even if you're not feeling it, you're smiling, just signals to your body, I'm okay. And eventually your body starts to feel it. You just kind of have to force that smile on it at first a few times.
Mhm. Yeah, the signaling is so important. And I love like telling people free things they can do, but simple things. And I know I also like to talk about for the clients I'm working with who are Christian. I like to incorporate like the Christian faith and things like that. But
Yes, definitely.
there's simple things that are in the Bible about like gratitude, forgiveness, and
Yes.
prayers before meal. I mean, how many people are sitting, their digestion sucks, and how many people are sitting down to eat a meal and the super like upregulated fight or flight response. But when you sit down and you say a prayer and you express gratitude, like say if you do that at home, you'll notice that like you'll notice feeling more relaxed and your belly releases a little bit. And there's that like wisdom there. And, for clients that we're working with that may not have a faith base, just teaching them about some deep breathing exercises and gratitude. But, when back in the day when we were not at the top of the food chain and say we were getting chased by something that wanted to eat us, you're in that stress response and the body's not like, let's focus on healing and digesting our food, you're in this upregulated, you're not deep breathing, but then you get away from the lion or the tiger or whatever, and then you're finally able to take a deep breath and relax. Nowadays, the lion can be like work stress or family stress or this constant go, go, go 24/7 that people are stuck in. So being able to realize that like, hey, okay, I am upregulated. I need to just go be intentional about taking some deep breaths. And I know for me, I'm a mom of young children and have like zero time to myself. And I know when I'm working with another mom, I cannot be like, okay, before you have your meals, I want just make sure you're sitting down and you're eating in a relaxed state because you're like running around with kids. But what you can do for people that are really busy is like, when you are taking care of the kids, when you're doing the dishes, when you're having to multitask, be intentional about your breathing. Make sure that you're doing some deep breathing exercises, implementing some gratitude. If you pray, incorporate that.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, there's so much that we can teach people to do. And so I do want to pause just for a moment because we're going to cut to break, and I will see you on the other side of the break. If you are a nurse that is fed up with the sick care model, I have a solution for you. My name is Melissa Schreidfetter, and I am the owner and founder of the Functional Nurse Academy. FNA is the most comprehensive functional medicine training program on the market, specifically tailored to nurses. It is self-paced and equips LPNs, RNs, and nurse practitioners to practice functional medicine, address the root causes of dysfunction, and start their independent functional medicine practices. At FNA, you will learn how to order labs, functional health reports, create customized wellness plans, package and price your services, and even how to market your brand effectively. Graduates earn 90 nursing CEUs, and then they qualify for multiple board certification titles. They also will have access to our exclusive tools, such as our Functional Nurse Toolkit, our social media and marketing kit. And I don't want to just train you and send you on your way. So you also will get access to me each month via the Functional Nurse Academy monthly mentorship program, where you will be able to attend a live class with me each month. So say goodbye to sick care and start your dream career as a functional medicine nurse. Enroll today at functionalnurseacademy.com. Hello and welcome back to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. This is your show host, Melissa Schreidfetter. Today, I am joined by one of my Functional Nurse Academy graduates, Lindsay Lepp, who is the founder of Arukah Health Guild. She is a functional medicine nurse that is helping people to heal their bodies from the inside out. And today, we are talking about just some simple swaps that you guys can make for a healthier, happier home. Welcome back, Lindsay.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. So, but I'm so glad that we're able to do this. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about a couple of other home health swaps. And I wanted to ask, with your personal experience, with your family, what have you noticed the most difference from when we're talking about changing things out in your household?
In my house, I've noticed fragrances a lot once they were removed, and if we have like visitors or company, even it's like a lotion or something, and it's always like, whoa, when those come back. But just slowly, like making all the changes, I was just like my kids don't get sick as much. Um, we kind of had like when they were younger, we were even in the hospital a couple times just with like different respiratory things and stuff. And um, I think just removing some of that burden just allows their little bodies to function better. And yeah, I mean, we still get the odd thing here and there, but it's nothing crazy. And it used to like really worry me because we did end up in the hospital a few times with our little ones. But yeah, um, what else have I noticed the most? I think, and they've adapted to my cooking as well.
Good.
I mean, they're toddlers, right? They're gonna still have their preferences and stuff, but I think like um, having the ability to cook and to make their favorite foods instead of just buying them with all the extra stuff. I mean, I just feel better about it, and they've adapted to it too. My my in-laws are always like, "How do you get your kids to eat a carrot?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just gave it to them. If there's no other option, what are they going to eat?"
That's so true. Because if they're hungry enough, they'll eat it. And also, if that's like the environment of their home,
Yeah.
that's going to be normal for them, you know? But in our house, my son, there are no chicken, and there is no judgment, by the way, guys, like zero judgment here. But I'm just saying, in our home, it's just not normal for us to have things like chicken nuggets or even like boxed mac and cheese and things like that. And I remember from my upbringing, my mom did cook dinner every night. However, we were in the 90s and we had unlimited access to like, Pop Tarts and, Fruit Loops. And we ate so much out of a box. And I didn't really learn to cook until I was an adult. But it is the food thing. Oh my goodness. What you put in your body, I promise you it matters. Like for us, we've had so many health issues. I cannot believe how many ailments that we had that have cleared up since we are basically just not eating toxins anymore. We try to just live like very like, okay, did God make this or did man make this?
Yeah.
God did not design Pop Tarts, So,
Yeah.
but what are some, okay, could you give me some examples of just like some easy, healthy meals that are toddler friendly?
Um, well, my kids will generally eat like spaghetti or ground beef. I bake. I do like to bake a lot, but I have like adapted all the recipes, and my husband does not. He's like, these are not cookies. These are health discs, is what he calls them. So I have a few recipes like that where I've swapped out like a lot of the sugar and flour and oils and stuff. And like, did you know that you can bake with unflavored protein and use it as a flour substitute? Um, and so like muffins and stuff like that will, yeah, I'll like up the protein, or like Greek yogurt or applesauce instead of like all the oils and stuff. So there is still like stuff like that. Like in our house, we're not completely, I would call myself scrunchy, probably not completely crunchy, but they'll eat like, and I do like gluten-free and organic pastas. So it's not really pasta, I guess, but those kinds of things when I make like a spaghetti or a casserole. And just like my kids will eat like grilled chicken and just like chop it up and have it on a plate with a carrot. It's just, I find things that they like. Like I'll try a lot of different things, and then when I find something that they like, that ends up on rotation and repeat in our family. And what I found, if I'm like, when I was trying to like kind of wean them off of like, all the chicken nuggets and everything like that. When they'd like get up from a nap, like when they were napping, I would cook and have food ready. And so then when they would wake up from their nap and hungry, then that's what was available. So then if they were hungry, they would try it. And it wasn't like they were just like bored and like looking for something like familiar to eat. So that's when I introduced new foods. I don't know if that's helpful that way, but yeah, what else are their favorites? Yeah. They love bread and stuff, and I try to keep it at a minimum, but I also am kind of radicalized on bread a little bit, and I've ordered like a flour mill to be able to like mill my own flour and bake that way to keep all the protein and the nutrients and stuff in it that we've stripped from it, and also keep like the pesticides and everything off of our flour. And that's another thing I tell my clients too, is like sometimes you're not reacting to the flour, like it's not like celiac, it could quite possibly be glyphosate and what we're using on our crops right before harvest that we're ingesting, and it's wrecking our guts. So getting that out of our house as well has made a difference in going organic, especially on flour.
Oh, I love that you have a flour mill. So my husband recently, he's been like, I want cooking to be my thing. And I was like, I am totally fine with that. I support that. So he's been making like homemade bread because again, back in ancient times, people were consuming bread. There
I
are
know.
nutrients and minerals in bread. But the thing is, when we go, the crap at the store that's been on the shelf for who knows how long, and they've got to put extra things in there to make it shelf stable. But that's a good point about the glyphosate. And again, I am seeing this influx of like social media influencers, and they're like, glyphosate's healthy. And it's like, okay, glyphosate is an herbicide when things end inside. That means to kill things. There's so much evidence, guys, about how glyphosate is absolutely associated and causes disruption of the gut microbiome. And not only are they spraying it all over the crops, but with things like wheat, they're actually using it as a drying agent. So they harvest it and then they use it. They use it as a drying agent. So it's got like such a high load of that on there. And I just don't think that this is normal. That all of these people are being diagnosed with celiac or like non-celiac gluten intolerance, and also how we have hybridized the current gluten. This is not like natural gluten. Like we've hybridized it to put more of the gliadin protein in the molecule, which makes it more fluffy and easier to bake with. But that wrecks our guts and causes intestinal permeability. But I do think that there is hope for our listeners. Because again, who does not love bread? I mean, it's just.
Jesus is the bread of life, and we have to tell people to stop eating bread to get healthy. I was like, something is not aligning in my brain here.
Yes, but also people are so metabolically unhealthy these days. And again, like the processed flour is going to spike your blood sugar way more than if you're making something homemade at home. For us, that like, hey, the thought of like milling my own flour, well, my husband would be doing that. I wouldn't be doing that. But anyway, that sounds like a lot, but I know other people that are doing it and they're like, it's fine, just get the equipment, but it, maintains so many of those beneficial enzymes and minerals and things like that.
Like your
But,
flour shouldn't be shelf stable. Like it should
uh-huh.
last like 3 days, and then it would probably be not good. But they've just stripped all the healthy oils and a lot of the fiber out of it as well to make it shelf stable. And then they have other markets for that. So then putting it back in doesn't make economical sense for the company. So then they don't do it. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but that's something else. Like when you look at, government nutritional guides, which
Mhm.
guys, I remember little personal story. So so what really made me just break out from conventional medicine was my first pregnancy and all those things that happened. But anyway, my first pregnancy, I got diagnosed with gestational diabetes, and my diabetes nutritionist told me that I could have Rice Krispie treats and I could have, tuna fish sandwiches on whole wheat bread. And the thing is like, and of course my blood sugar was way too high, and then they put me on a medicine that now they're like, oops, yeah, that's not safe for pregnancy. But anyway, um, there's so much nutritional guidance, and they're like, oh, eat your whole grains, but they're not specifying what whole grains are healthy for you or not, because there's so many like processed whole grains that are garbage. So, what are some other whole grains like that you would recommend that people eat? Like, what do you find that's like nutrient dense and healthy?
Um, well, I've also tried the like a low FODMAP diet as well, and for that, 100% spelt sourdough actually fits that. Um, so that's another one, and I know einkorn is also um, like a kind of like an ancient grain um,
Oh,
that.
I had that this morning.
Oh, did it?
I
Very
did. It
nice.
was good. Well, my husband's been baking bread with einkorn flour, but so I have Hashimoto's, which is under control, knock on wood, because I am eating real food and I'm no longer like, slathering toxins on my skin every
Yeah.
day and all these things. But anyway, um, I was told, and so many people with autoimmune, if they have a doctor that is savvy, they're like, hey, go completely off of gluten. But I'm like, the gluten in ancient grains such as einkorn is
Yeah.
different from like the regular hybridized gluten. So I do think that there is hope for people who
Yeah.
may have been diagnosed with like non-celiac gluten intolerance or have an autoimmune condition that may be able to tolerate ancient grains, forms of wheat that of course are organic.
I think that's fair. Like I'm also with child right now, and I have noticed that we are reacting to gluten a lot in this pregnancy, and so I've just gone off of it just because I noticed I was like reacting to it a lot, and I've had a lot more energy, and I feel better, like less nauseous. But I'm also quite hopeful that this is not a forever thing, and then as my gut heals and like the stress of pregnancy and stuff, then hopefully like you can reintroduce some of those foods back in as you're less inflamed and your gut heals and um, your deficiencies get like repleted and stuff. Then it. So I always try and offer that as a little bit of hope too. Like this isn't necessarily a forever thing, but our body is healing right now, and hopefully we can reintroduce some of these foods back in some capacity.
Yes, yes. And I'm also, I like kind of telling people, okay, this is what we can do for a time. So another like functional medicine red flag, guys, is if you're working with a practitioner and they're like, you need to be on this highly restrictive diet forever. That's never a good idea. Sometimes we may need to do certain things if the body is super inflamed to really help to incorporate that gut healing. But, we should always be looking for like an end goal of being able to have a diversity of healthy foods in our diets.
Mhm.
So, okay, well, great. Yeah, I'm gonna go get my husband something to start milling his own flour. I feel
Yeah.
like this could be a new hobby for you. But I did want to move on and ask about, like, I'm so glad that you found the Functional Nurse Academy. And again, even with the Functional Nurse Academy, when I started my functional practice, I really never intended to like launch an educational platform. It just kind of happened. So could you tell me a little bit about your experience with FNA?
Sure. I mean, I said before, it just kind of like fell into my lap. I think I found you probably through social media. I was following Mike Yoder at the time, who's like a constitutional lawyer with all the stuff that was going on in the military and stuff then. And through him, I found Jody O'Malley, who then I found you through. And then I went to, or I came and listened to one of your information webinar things that you did. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like something that like I can do. So, and then I was, yeah, like I said, I was just trying to maybe help myself out of some health problems and then hopefully my family. But through the course and stuff, like the way that you have it like set up, like to format your business and just like get going is so straightforward that I was kind of like, why not? So yeah. And the other thing that it was almost like your coursework and lectures and stuff, almost like opened my eyes to like more and more of the stuff, because as the more that you talked, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's like, I never learned this, but it totally like makes sense in my brain. And then it's always like, this isn't that hard to like correct. Like this isn't like, it isn't so complicated. Like, and everything just kind of like the links just kind of keep fitting back together, whether it's like inflammation and diet and lifestyle and the stress and stuff. And it's like so many of the things just kept like almost like on repeat. And I was like, you can see the patterns of like the holistic health. I was like, that was like the thing in my brain is like, what, are they keeping this a secret just because like it's not that complicated? Like it's not easy. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to implement those changes in your life. I'm not going to tell you that it's easy to make these changes, but the changes aren't like difficult and out of reach also. That was one of the biggest things that I took away from FNA, apart from like the wealth of like just the way that you put everything together, like in the different like units of like thyroid was probably one of my favorite ones that and it's like, whoa, it just kind of like but yeah, I found it all like very intriguing and eye-opening and very very well put together. And especially like if you're looking to start a business, it's very I felt very well equipped as I finished to just take a client, you know.
Yes. Well, I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you had, the confidence to where you felt like you had that confidence to start taking clients after you finished the course. Because again, there is like there are a lot of functional practitioners out there, but from what I experienced going through functional medicine boot camp myself as a patient, there's a lot of them that are not qualified or they are not practicing with integrity, and nurses are so well suited for this. And there's a high demand for functional nurses in this space. And I also wanted to touch on the board of nursing. So I have but when I was in the beginning phases of Functional Nurse Academy, I had talked to some other educators that also were in this like nurse entrepreneur space that told me that sometimes the boards of nursing will just tell nurses, no, you're not allowed to start a business. And then they're saying things that are not correct.
Mhm.
And I've now heard this. I've had, you were actually the first student that reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm trying to start my business, but the board of nursing told me I can't do functional medicine, which again, like, I've heard of this happening in other educational programs. Can you tell us about your experience with the South Dakota Board of Nursing?
Sure. Well, I was just going through your practice formations checklist, and you're always like, make sure you check with your board of nursing and see if there's like any provisions. So I sent my little email away and expected them to be like, okay, vague thumbs up, but they were pretty much like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I can. So I think I sent another email. I was like, I'm not trying to do like it's like this is a very education like based like framework here. And then ended up getting on the phone with a couple of them and trying to explain it. And I was like, they really, like, I think they just didn't understand. It's a new concept, I guess, up here for a nurse to be, or else nobody has actually asked the board whether they're just doing it. I'm not sure, but I'm kind of a rule follower. So I wanted to get at least like a vague like thumbs up. Like, I'm not going to do something that's against like the provisions and stuff. And I just, when I was on the phone with them, I was just like, okay, I think they don't understand like the education and the scope of what I'm trying to do. So I did end up hiring a lawyer, which I actually met through my gym. And he has other clients that were in the functional medicine space. And I'm not sure he has like a nurse, but he was familiar with what I'm trying to do. And we went through like the provisions of like that were in for South Dakota, like the scope of practice and the standards of nursing practice. And he's like, okay, what are you trying to do with your business? Okay, this fits under this scope, this fits here, this, and this goes in this provision. And we kind of just like made this like framework through, they gave me like a decision tree thing about scope of practice and stuff. And so we went through everything that I was trying to do, and just kind of, he formatted an email and it just came from him and his office. And I'm not sure he really said anything a whole lot different than what I said, but just like coming from him, they were like, oh, okay, she's serious. No, they were very good. And once it actually got explained to them, and like, or they understood, I guess, like just like the education. And I'm not trying to like be outside of the scope. I'm not trying to be a nurse practitioner. I am an RN. And then they were like, the response that I got back was actually a lot more positive than I was anticipating. I was just kind of anticipating like a vague, okay, and then just kind of watch your back. But no, it was very positive once everything got kind of all laid out and explained.
Yes, and I'm so thankful for you to share that experience, because there are so many nurses out there that are not nurse practitioners that really want to get out there and do this, but they are fearful that they're not allowed to practice functional medicine. And I always like to say, I'm like, the term functional medicine does not imply that you are engaging in the practice of medicine and that you are treating and diagnosing and prescribing. Functional medicine is a specialty within healthcare where we're talking about lifestyle interventions, nutritional interventions, root cause approach, and there are so many different services that can fall under that umbrella. But what I'm seeing is that so I think with your board, you probably spoke to a representative that just didn't know what functional medicine was.
Yeah.
And I think out of an abundance of caution, they're like, no, you can't do that. And, you know, when I've also spent hours and hours with my attorney having everything that we do at FNA legally reviewed. And the thing is, sometimes the boards, they don't understand it. And instead of like actually doing their research on it, they may be quick just to tell nurses, no, you're not allowed to do that. And that can really hinder us, because when you look at functional medicine, you know, there are functional medicine nutritionists, licensed and unlicensed. There are functional medicine health coaches. There are functional medicine pharmacists. Why on earth would we just be like, oh no, nurses are not allowed to do functional medicine? But you know, go see this person over here who may have zero clinical experience. And again, not to say anything negative about people who, there are some people who start businesses as health coaches that are remarkable because they've had healing experiences, but when we have nurses who are clinical and we're also licensed. So like it's so
Yeah.
suitable for us to be in this area, in the specialty of functional medicine. And also with the testing, I think that this kind of chokes up the nursing boards and they're just like, no, 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 you can't do
Yeah.
that. But they don't understand functional testing. So how were you able to explain that to them?
Well, my lawyer did most of it, and just going back to that, if you are feeling like intimidated about like getting like that was kind of like an intimidating process too, just trying to like find a lawyer, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like so expensive and stuff. Just ask for their costs up front and like and navigate it that way, and yeah, don't be intimidated to. You can contact these people and say no. But find somebody who's familiar with the space or has done this before, and then yeah, just hire them. But yeah, the testing, it was I can't. It's more like I'm not doing the testing. Like it is not under like my license. It is like it's kind of like it's almost like a contract out, and you're contracting the physician through Avexia or Arukah or whatever, and then you are providing education on the results. You're not doing the testing, but also like my thought too is like nurses do non-invasive testing in the hospital without a doctor's order all the time. We take a blood pressure, we make clinical decisions. Like the nurses are responsible to triage. Like you're the one, based on the vital signs that you take, the non-invasive testing that you've done, like you're making a clinical decision on who gets seen first. Like that is something that nurses do. So I had to, I guess I relied on my lawyer on how he phrased that and everything to them and explained it. But yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that when you heard that you pushed back on them, because I remember because you had reached out to me and it was like the perfect day for you to reach out to me about this because I just happened to have an appointment with my attorney. And this was the first time I had heard of one of our students going through the program where the board was like, no, you can't do this. And my attorney was like, yeah, what the Board of Nursing said to her is insane, and that's not correct, So, but anyway, when we talk about the testing, and for our listeners that are not medical, I want everyone to know. Okay, you can actually order your own labs online if you are in any state in the U.S. except for New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island, guys. You can order your own test. I think the cheapest way I found is Best Laboratory Testing. It's BLT system, bestlaboratorytesting.com, and it'll go through like a LabCorp or a Quest. But the benefit of having a functional nurse order them for you is you may get it at, we have access to the wholesale pricing. Like when I will do a package with one of my clients, I will actually offer the testing at cost. So when I build it into their program and then I review their testing with them, not as interpretation or diagnosing, but as educating them about potential dysfunctions in the body. And then as an RN, I can then use that data to collaborate with the healthcare team. So say that if I get a test result and I'm like, wow, this person looks like they've got hypothyroidism, even though I understand that diagnostic criteria, I legally cannot give them the diagnosis. So I may say, according to these results, these appear to be elevated out of range. Let me reach out to your provider. So think things like that,
That was another point too. That was like South Dakota is a self-order state. I was like, these are all things like people can actually do for themselves. And I'm just offering this as a concierge service.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, like, some of these nursing boards don't even know what functional medicine is. And
Or
they
that
just,
these services are even available for other, like you could do it yourself without, and you don't know what to do with the results or like how to look at the information or what it means. So Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and there's also, there are other functional medicine schools, but because these are available for patients to order, there's other people who may not be licensed that are functional practitioners that are able to order them. So it doesn't make sense why like a functional medicine health coach could order labs for you through Avexia, but a registered nurse is not allowed to do that, And then I also hear things about, and I know for me, I know we both have toddlers, right? So I'm kind of like, and for my business, like it's been running very well, even though I don't have my NP. I don't need my NP because I find most people coming to me, they don't want to be on prescription drugs. So the way that I help them, usually if I need to utilize a prescription pad, it's usually for, thyroid hormone, very simple things like that. And I just write a letter to their primary care provider and I collaborate that way. But I've been able to operate pretty successfully not being able to diagnose or treat medical conditions because I find that most people are interested in uncovering the root causes, the lifestyle, the nutrition, and things like that. So, but I also hear this, I see a lot of this on social media where and some of these groups, other nurses are or other advanced practice providers are seem to be like a bit against RNs and other non-advanced practitioners working in functional medicine. And I am just, I kind of wonder sometimes if that is kind of coming from a different place because maybe they, went to school for a very, very long time because they wanted to do functional medicine. And then they're seeing that people that did not go through NP or PA school be able to offer services that are not the same, but they're a bit similar. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, a lot of fear mongering on
Mhm.
social media. That's part of the reason I don't even have my business on social media right now. Is like I just yeah, I know what I've been called to do and I know what I want to do. And going like to NP or PA school for me and my family does not make sense right now. It would take me like out of the home, and I've been able to do everything for this working from home with my kiddos, and um, yeah, and also the financial investment to be able to order your own like I don't know, prescriptions or deprescribe and stuff for people. I was like, I'm comfortable like writing a letter to a physician. I've got pretty thick skin. I worked in the ER and ICU for a lot of years. And I'm I'm not a like it's pretty much like a outpatient S bar, or and you're just I'm not yeah, like I'm totally willing to like let's work with your physician and um yeah, get it all sorted. But yeah, the nurse practitioner thing just yeah, didn't make sense for my family and me right now. And everything that I want to do, I can do as an RN. And I also have a couple contacts that are like chiropractors, and I was like, if um, just like asking them like, do you like how often do you prescribe or what like can I send people to you if they need something like that? And they're like, honestly, I have the ability to. I've never had to with uh, like the medications or the interventions and stuff that they recommend. Um, so yeah. Also, the other thing that I was going to tell you is I sent one of my clients to get her labs drawn, and it was just like the basic panel that you put like through Avexia. And one of the guys there told her is like, wow, this is the most like comprehensive and thoughtful panel that I think I've ever seen. And because he's like, people come in here with like $3,000 worth of testing and just like random stuff. And so like my client told me that, and I was like, oh, that's good to hear. I'll have to tell Melissa
Oh,
that. It's very, yeah. And I was like, yeah, it
wow.
does make sense. We don't need to empty your pocketbook just to get you well.
Oh,
That's the other thing, like, as an RN, then you don't have that debt that you're trying to pay,
mhm.
and your overhead is a little bit lower, and you're able to pass that on to your clients and stuff too.
Yes. And that's why I love, and I'm kind of like, I'm wondering if you guys have heard my toddler in the next room screaming. But yeah, I'm also like working from home right now. with my babies, and this is something that I saw when I was going through functional medicine as a patient is some of these places, they have these beautiful offices, they have all of this staff, but their overhead is super high. So what is happening is they are becoming reliant on commissions from supplement sales and from functional medicine testing. So then these people get taken advantage of. And yeah, like that's why with the FNA panels I recommend, like there are some labs I do recommend people get every year, like inflammatory markers, vitamin D, your thyroid, things like that. But we should not be ordering like thousands of dollars of testing that just happens to be marked up on every single client that walks in through the door, because then people get taken advantage of. So you really need to learn, like, okay, let's start with a comprehensive panel that is affordable, that's like less than
Yes.
$140. And
Yeah.
then based on their symptoms, their medical history, what else can we add on from there? That way, everything we do is bio individualized. But yeah, and whenever I would do discovery calls with clients, I explain this to them. I'm like, hey, I am a hole in the wall functional medicine practice, and I do this that way. I am not dependent on commissions from testing and supplements. If I
Yeah.
recommend any of that,
Mhm.
you get it at cost, which is significantly discounted, and that eliminates the conflict of interest for me to be like, oh yeah, you really need this, $600 food sensitivity test that happened to me one time. But yeah, I'm so glad that you have got your practice up and running. And, I'm at your website right now and it looks fantastic. By the way, if you go to Lindsay's website, it is Arukah Health Guild. And I'm all impressed that Lindsay is also an athlete. Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, I guess, well, I grew up very like active and stuff. I always was a swimmer and I played basketball, played college basketball. And then in my 20s, I started with CrossFit, and then I ran into a coach at a seminar one time, and he kind of like picked on me all weekend. And he's like, you need to try this Olympic lifting thing. So I ended up working with him like online coaching for a number of years, and then I ended up actually moving to Kansas to train and compete with him, and ended up before I had kids, I competed at a national level for Olympic weightlifting. And yeah, I still keep up with it for like my health and wellness, not at the same level, but still enjoy it. And it's like it that was another thing that like totally changed my idea of health. So I feel like my mind is pretty like open to new ideas, because I've changed my mind so many times on health and wellness and what is like fit and healthy as well. But yeah, movement and weightlifting is definitely a part of what I recommend for people.
Yeah. And I think that's great, because I see on your website, I blend nursing expertise, fitness coaching, and functional testing to create personalized wellness plans. I think that is beautiful. And again, with healthcare, you may notice. I remember some of the healthcare providers I had in the past. They didn't seem very healthy, and maybe
Yeah.
walk into the visit and they've got their like McDonald's milkshake or whatever. So I think that is such a testament that you also have that background in fitness yourself. So now tell me, what kind of services are you offering in your practice?
Right now, I'm still kind of fleshing that out. I'm fairly new, but just like I start with like a basic like um, lifestyle audit, pretty much is what I call it, and um, just going through like the foundations of wellness with everybody, and then yeah, I have like kind of three different packages that I put together right now. Is I call it Arukah Essentials, which is just kind of like very basic. And then I love like the hormones and the thyroids and stuff too. That's one of my passions as well. But um, yeah, kind of just everything that we learned in FNA. And everything is kind of based on their needs. I don't really have a set cost or package anything right now, but I'm getting ready to do more like athletic optimization stuff. I'm going to run it on my husband first and see how he does with that, but also working with athletes and seeing what we can do to level up their performance and make sure you're supplementing what needs and not like throwing your money down the drain if your body doesn't need it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. And I love that you're talking about optimization. And I think that's like a really good niche for you too, optimization for athletes. And then I also love that you said the word thyroid. As
Yeah.
my listeners know, I personally went through thyroid chaos myself. And I remember when for years, they were like, nothing is wrong with you. It's in your head. Oh, your thyroid's a little off, but we'll just wait and see, which means we're just not going to do anything and we'll wait till it breaks. But I remember thinking, I was like, if only I had like a nurse or someone
Yeah.
that could look at my case and then order the appropriate testing. Because like the testing I needed for my Hashimoto's diagnosis was a $14 like
I
out
know.
of pocket, not even using your insurance test. And these are things that like functional nurses can order and then they can advocate for you.
Yeah.
Um,
I was kind of thinking it's kind of like those like storm warnings that you get on your phone. Like if you go to the hospital, your conventional doctor will tell you, well, a tornado hit your house. But if you're going to see like a functional nurse and stuff, yeah, we're looking at optimal levels. We'll probably be able to give you the storm warnings and look at this is the potential for what's coming down the pipe, and able to cut that off before.
Yeah. Yeah. With my thyroid antibodies, guys, when I was under the care of an endocrinologist. So my antibodies were, so they were 7,000 guys. And the reference range is like 0 to 34. Optimal range is like 0 to 9. But they were like, oh, this is mild. And I was like, is there anything I can do about it? And they told me no. And and so they remained elevated for some time. And when I finally started looking into it, I was able to get my antibodies down by less than 500 from 7,000 to 500 within like 4 to 6 weeks just with diet. And then with other like natural interventions, I got them around 100 from 7,000, and so there's things that we can do that don't necessarily require like additional medications and things like that. And these are all things that, nurses, even if they're not nurse practitioners, they can help you with these things. And I also just love in your packages, you are offering unlimited portal messaging and 35% off medical supplements. Good job. Um,
I think it does. Like you say, it just kind of like builds the trust
yeah.
relationship. And it's like I am not making anything off of what you are buying, and everything that I would recommend is like from a genuine place. I sign off my emails from my heart to your health, and it's like
Aw.
I mean that. It's like I really care, and I really want it to I want it to be accessible to people. Like I know what it's like to struggle like financially and to not be able to like care for your body or even get the information that you think you want or need because it's so priced out. But yeah, I think that does help build the relationship there.
Yeah, yeah. And this is one thing too and I'm to the point now where I do my own functional medicine. I do my own functional medicine for my family. And then because my thyroid broke because I went around in the system for years with like no intervention, I have like a holistically minded nurse practitioner that manages my thyroid. But with the functional medicine, it can be a lot for people. So like if you have a provider practitioner that you're working with and they, recommend a couple of targeted supplements or something, for I know when I went through this system, I was always like, okay, do I actually need that supplement? Or is this person trying to sell me things because they're making money? So I love that like eliminates that.
Yeah.
And then we know it's genuine recommendation. And also, I do think, and I know that again, practices that have high overhead cannot just get on the phone with people for free for 30 minutes. But I also think it's important if you're going to trust someone to help you with your health, that like you can talk to them for free and you don't have to go through like their office person or their salesperson, that you can actually talk to the practitioner.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to, I see you are offering the 30-minute calls that are free if someone wants to work with you. How do they go about doing that? Like, do you have like a scheduling link that we could post?
I believe there is. I think on the homepage of my website, the Let's Chat button will link to my calendar.
Awesome.
Or you could just send me an email as well. And
Okay.
I can get you on the calendar too.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, I'm going to post your link here just because, we do hear from our listeners often and they're kind of like, I'm having these issues. Oh, who should I see? Where should I go? So I'm going to post this link if anyone is interested in working with Lindsay, because again, there's so much we can do, guys, to help support our health. And I know I'm a little biased because I'm a nurse, but nurses, again, like we are so well suited for this, guys. So yeah. So, well, thank you for coming on the show today, Lindsay.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, anytime. So now to our listeners, since it's going to be a couple of months until I'm going to be back on the show, I do want to remind you all, if you are a nurse and you are looking for functional training, please come visit me at functionalnurseacademy.com, because I was hearing from not just nurses, but healthcare professionals from all over the country that also were wanting functional training. I opened up ChristianFMA.com, which is Christian Functional Medicine Academy. So I am now training nurses, all other healthcare specialties, and certified health and wellness coaches. Thank you for tuning in to the Functional Nurse Academy graduate feature. If this conversation inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow nurse who may be ready to level up in their career. If you want to be our next success story, feel free to visit functionalnurseacademy.com. If you are not a nurse, if you're in another healthcare specialty, I can train you as well. So go to christianfma.com for that training program. And until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless.
This was brought to you by Functional Nurse Academy. For more information, please visit functionalnurseacademy.com.